Start here, big news. We have a lot of big news to get to. As I mentioned at the top of the show, Hunter Biden, the president's son, has been found guilty of all 3 felony counts in his gun case. The charges could include up to 25 years in prison, but as the media, leftist media that is, has been pointing out, for a so-called first-time offender like Hunter Biden, he likely won't get any jail time at all, probably probation, but we can't say for sure. We will find out when sentencing rolls around. The judge has not set a date yet for that, but would it shock you if Donald Trump was sentenced to jail and Hunter Biden was not, even though Hunter's crimes are much more serious? That is the state of America today. People often aren't held accountable or responsible, though hopefully that tide is changing with Hunter Biden's 3 guilty verdicts, which I'll be honest with you, I did not expect. I expected a hung jury at best. But that leads me to some other big breaking news. Nancy Pelosi. She knew on January 6th about the failure of the United States Capitol Police and the failure to have the National Guard on site and ready. And she knew those failures were on her. And we have her on tape admitting to that fact specifically. The House Oversight Committee yesterday released footage taken by Nancy Pelosi's daughter while taping a documentary on January the 6th. And during the clip that had been hidden from the public for more than 3 years, Nancy Pelosi admits that she was the one responsible for not being prepared. Take a look and listen for yourself.
We have responsibility, Terry. We did not have any accountability for what was going on there, and we should have. This is ridiculous. You're going to ask me in the middle of the thing when they've already breached the inaugural stuff that should we call the Capitol Police? I mean the National Guard? Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with?
They thought that they had sufficient resources.
That is not a question of how they had been. They don't know. They clearly didn't know, and I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more.
And I take responsibility that they were not prepared for more. Seems pretty cut and dried, of course. Nancy now backpedaling, calling it revisionist history. Dear Nancy, that's you on tape, not somebody else. That's you on January the 6th. And remember how the Democrats berated Donald Trump over and over again, peddling the false narrative that somehow everything that happened was Trump's fault. I guess that's not true. Trump said numerous times, I remind you, he had asked for 10,000 National Guard troops to be on standby. And he said repeatedly, Nancy Pelosi said no. Well, it seems she knew she screwed up. And it seems the Democrats knew it too, because they have kept this tape from the public, like I said, for over 3 years. So this one's very hot today as well. We'll stay on top of it. The question is, will anyone be held accountable for the entire setup known as January the 6th, and I mean the people that really set up the whole thing and put it into motion for political gain, period. Democrats, it's time to rethink your approach to politics, because you work for us. And to members of the media, wow, rethink your approach in general, because you cannot validate and defend your work if you work for Democrats, and it's quite clear day in and day out, you do. Case in point, FBI agent Erica Jensen's admission that Hunter Biden's laptop is real. After all the lies from the intelligence community, the deep state, the corporate media, and all their allies. After 4 years of dissembling and denials, the truth is on the record, and it was put there for all to see by the Department of Justice, Joe Biden's Department of Justice. It's on the record to stay. And with that being said, Hunter and Joe Biden have been business partners for years. It was all covered up by the DOJ. Listen to this.
We think that the motivation is to try to distance Joe Biden from any of the corruption and influence peddling that was going on, because the family itself made somewhere north of $20 million, looking more like $35 million if you include the false loans that were made. So those were their motivations for not giving us the whole truth. So when we talk about the violations themselves, we're talking about making false statements to Congress as well as perjury, because these were under oath.
Under oath, so the admission is part of the official record on Hunter Biden's ongoing criminal trial for buying that gun illegally while being addicted to a variety of illegal drugs, but mostly crack cocaine, that is, that he apparently smoked about every 20 minutes during the height of his madness. But even still, the left continues to try to defend Hunter Biden's addiction and actions. Listen to this.
And the reason that I wanted to come forward, I'm right about this, is because even though I've been sober since I was a teenager, I felt that the disease that Hunter Biden has is the same disease that I have, is the same disease that, almost 20% of the country has. And, Republicans do love to talk about like fentanyl coming over the border. Like there's a reason that drugs are a problem in this country, and it's largely because of addiction. So this is another part of that. I think Republicans have really actually not had a lot of success using Hunter Biden to sully Joe Biden, but they have tried. At one of the sort of moments in the debate where Biden ended up really being that Biden that voters really like was when he talked about his son's addiction. And he said, he struggled with addiction. He's made it through, and that he's incredibly proud of his son for that.
Incredibly proud of his son. But listen, as the jury obviously found, you don't get a free pass because you were high, or because you forgot to pick up your laptop from the repair shop and then got busted. Why? Because you were high. Of course, missing from all other records is an apology by the FBI to the American people, or the 51 so-called intelligence experts who signed a letter calling Hunter's laptop Russian disinformation, when they knew damn well it was not. Missing is the wrong word, by the way, because it presupposes the existence of a thing with no basis in reality. Contrition by the FBI. For the FBI to feel sorry, the Bureau must first have feelings. No agency of government has feelings, of course. No agency of government has a conscience. Moral agency belongs to individuals like you and I, and for these reasons, the FBI is not sorry. Democrats are not sorry either. They use the bogus letter and the bogus reporting to help capture voters. For these reasons, Democrats feel that they are immune from civil retaliation. By civil retaliation, I mean the timely and orderly rejection of Democrats across the board come Election Day. The Democrat Party has no mandate to govern with prejudice or to disrespect us on account of how Democrats feel about us. In a word, the voter isn't a moron, and America usually gets it right at the ballot box. Not always, but usually, in my experience. And yet, because they believe we are unintelligent and undeserving of the intelligence in their possession, Democrats want to withhold all the information they can give us. Either that, or they're afraid the truth will have real and lasting consequences. Let the record reflect, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, for you are the jurors in this trial that is our national election, that those who call us fascists and racists and insurrectionists, those who deplore us, describe themselves. They are projecting in the most classical sense of the term. Freedom of the press does not mean suppression of stories unfavorable to Democrats. Suppressing information 20 days before the 2020 presidential election so as to make the results more favorable for Democrats is evidence of a bigger story. Election fraud. Election fraud. There. I said it. Election fraud that is pumped up by the corporate media. Suppressing news in the name of national security and doing so based on lies about Russian interference is evidence of betrayal by the men and women in the biggest newsrooms in America and around the world. The word is treason. Even if the act itself, suppression of news relevant to the outcome of a national election, is not technically criminal. Listen to Emma Jo Morris, former deputy politics director at the New York Post, regarding her reporting about that specific laptop of Hunter Biden's. She said, and I quote, "I was absolutely sure that we was legit and airtight and bomb tight. Only hacks resort to vapid adjectives. And Morris, no hack. She got it right. The same is not true for social media, or rather socialists in the media, whose powers are many and responsibilities, well, apparently few. But for their loyalty to the Democrat Party, the powers that be are unqualified and wield power and unwilling to cede power. because they have the power to check anyone who disagrees with them, silencing critics and banning criticism altogether. The powers that be are not worthy of that power. Because of their abuse of power, what with their association and support for the enemies of freedom, the powers that be are neither good nor just. Decency demands a higher standard of accountability. We demand a return of standards in politics and media, which, well, we aren't currently getting. Watch this clip where Joe Biden campaign co-chair Gretchen Whitmer conveniently losing connection when asked about that Hunter Biden criminal trial. It's just remarkable, these coincidences that pop up from time to time. Here it is.
I want to turn to a different, very different trial, and that is one that is going on in Delaware with the president's son, Hunter Biden. He is on trial for obtaining and possessing a firearm while under the influence of illegal drugs, which was against the law. Republican Lindsey Graham says that an average American would not have been prosecuted
Dana, are you
for
there?
this. Yes, Governor, can you hear me?
Did you just drop my feed?
Okay, it sounds like the governor can't hear me. You know what? We're going to take a very quick commercial break.
It's a nice trick. I've seen it done before. How convenient. And unfortunately, this is what the American people are getting used to under the Biden regime. But we can change that, my friends. We can change that come November 5th. It's coming up, and we need Donald Trump back in the Oval Office. So I just say again, who's with me? Make sure you fight like a Democrat and vote early.